Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2023 action thriller Breakout. The film is co-written and directed by Brandon Slagle and it stars Louis Mandylor, Christos Andrews, Brian Krause and Tom Sizemore, the late Tom Sizemore. Now the film focuses on Louis Mandylor's character Alex, who is searching for his son. And he is given a call by one of his contacts. He's like ex-special forces or something, Louis Mandylor's character. And one of his contacts gets in touch with him and says, your son's in prison. And we see at the beginning his son kind of gets sent to prison for attempting to kill an undercover police officer during a failed robbery. So he heads off to this prison to visit his son, who he is estranged from. His son doesn't really want anything to do with him. And whilst they're in the bathroom at the prison, Louis Mandylor's character Alex, of the prisoners, Max, played by Brian Krause, executes his master plan. He takes over the prison and starts making demands from the police outside, who are run by Tom Sizemore's character. However, Alex is deciding that he's got to try and get his son out alive and try and put a stop to this prison break. Right. What are my thoughts on Breakout? Well, essentially, this film is Die Hard in a prison. There's no other simpler way to put it, I think it's fair to say. It is Die Hard in a prison. It's a Die Hard clone. If those are the sort of movies that you like to watch, then, you know, you probably could do far worse than this one. It's not what I would describe as a bad film. It's just not very original. Now, don't get me wrong, there are plot holes in this film that you could drive two tanks through. It's not what you would describe as an intelligent film by any stretch of the imagination. But if you like, you know, fairly low budgeted, easy to watch action flicks that feel very familiar, then this one will definitely tick a box for you guys. For those of you that want an action film that's kind of going to be giving you something a little bit more, is a little bit more polished, and makes sense to a large degree and is fairly original, then, you know, you are not going to enjoy this film. I'm somewhere in the middle. I thought this was a competent film, decently made, that will just kind of get shuffled in the pack. It's one of those films that you will see very, very shortly. It might already be there on the supermarket shelves for like a £5, that you'll pick up, take home, watch, and maybe not think that you've wasted your £5, but probably a film you'll never watch again. It'll just sit on your shelf gathering dust, and 2 or 3 years down the line you'll trade it in at CEX or whatever, and it'll be destined to the bargain buckets for the rest of its life. It isn't a memorable film in that sense. However, Louis Mandylor is an actor that I quite like. He's always done quite well, I think, in action films. He's quite talented, and in a sense of he can kind of do anything. I've seen him in horrors, I've seen him in action, I've done comedies, all this kind of stuff. He's got quite a variety in his tool bag sort of thing. So I've always quite liked him. I really enjoyed him in the Debt Collector films with Scott Adkins, and he pops up all the time in movies that I review. And he has to essentially front this film. He is the Bruce Willis of this film, if you like. And he does a decent job because he's always been able to handle himself in action films. If you ever watch any of his films with action films, he does in what is, in my opinion, one of the best on-screen fights with Scott Adkins in The Debt Collector 2. That's a direct rip-off, if you like, of the fight in They Live between Keith David and Roddy Piper. So he's got skills. If you watch The Art of Action with Scott Adkins on YouTube, he's interviewed Louis Mandylor, and he does talk a little bit about his combat experiences, things like that. So he does a decent job of fronting this film. He ain't no Bruce Willis, but he does a decent job fronting this film. The added twist here is that his son, who he's estranged from, is in this prison, and he has kind of been brainwashed by this criminal mastermind, Max. And he won't have anything to do with his dad. He won't be told. He won't listen, so on and so forth. Now, I think they could have done a lot more with this storyline with his son. I don't think they explored it enough. I think it could have really, really given the film that extra spice. It could have like bumped it up another score, maybe another point out of 10 or whatever. I just don't think they really explored the potential of the storyline between him and his son. I think they could have really done a lot more with that. Tom Sizemore, bless him, the late Tom Sizemore, may he rest in peace. He plays like the contact on the outside, the police lieutenant or whatever character he is called. He's basically on the phone the whole film. You don't see him do anything other than be on the phone. He's either on the phone to Max, the criminal mastermind, or he's either on the phone to Louis Mandylor's character, Alex. And one of the plot holes in the film is that Alex's character finds a phone and then just rings it straight away, and immediately it gets through to the Tom Sizemore character. They don't know each other. There's no history or anything like that. But it's one of those things like, we need to move the plot along. We'll just get him in touch with them. Whereas in the reality is, you'd have to go through to a switchboard. You'd have to say who he is, and they'd patch him through to this person. They'd patch him through to that person. It'd probably be like a half an hour job. It wouldn't surprise me. Whereas in this film, he picks up a phone, makes a call, and he's straight through to who he needs to get to. And there's other plot holes in this film. There's the whole reason why the police can't storm this building, and the SWAT teams can't storm the building and take it back, is the premise that they're holding hostages. Well, there is a point in the film where Louis Mandylor's character reliably informs them, actually, guys, there is no hostages. But they still don't go in. Why? What's holding them back? Send everybody in, and they don't. They just kind of leave Louis Mandylor's character to do their work for them, still on the inside. So it's not smart, really, and it's so much like a Die Hard clone that he's even talking on walkie-talkies to this, Max character, Max Chandler, this criminal mastermind, who is quite played wonderfully over the top by Brian Krause. But again, to say he's supposed to be like this criminal mastermind and really highly intelligent and stuff, he makes some ridiculous decisions, really, at the end of the day, that you would question his intellect of the decisions that he's making. So I reiterate, it's not a smart film. If you're one of these people that go into films and little things like that niggle you and wind you up, you're not going to enjoy it. It'll just frustrate you. If you don't mind and you're fairly forgiving, then it might not bother you too much, some of the stupid things that happen in this film. It's a fairly middling film. I've certainly seen a heck of a lot worse, put it that way. So you probably wouldn't be necessarily wasting your money too much if you want to shell out and give this one a watch. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the review. I'll be back with more content on the channel very, very soon.